wars of World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union shifted to a conflict that involved a rapidly metastasizing arms race, continuous diplomatic tensions, and a number of smaller proxy wars. This conflict was, of course, named the Cold War. In the end, the USSR was unable to outspend the West, and it collapsed in 1991, though industrial inefficiency, failures of collective farming, and the maintenance of an overextended network of satellite countries also contributed to the Soviet Union's fall. While the specter of nuclear war loomed large in the minds of the world during the Cold War, military planners also were pondering a slightly less bleak scenario involving conventional conflicts in Europe, particularly in West Germany. Now, during this period, SPI Games produced a profusion of these games that simulated just such a scenario. And interest was high at the time, and it didn't involve any sort of major historical research or simulation to make these games, so they were relatively easy to produce. Perhaps the simplest of these games was Strike Force 1, The Cold War Heats Up, 1975. It was designed by Redmond Simonson and James F. Dunnigan. It was also released in 2007 by Victory Point Games. It was produced by SPI and later produced by Victory Point Games. And it was a freebie that was supposed to teach wargaming to new players. Interestingly, it's also one of the lowest rated war games on the Board Game Geek, and you see quite a few negative comments on it. So we're going to look at it today and see if it's really all that bad. The map represents West Germany at the height of the Cold War, so it's about the mid-1970s. It's divided into hexes, and each of the pieces represents a company. So each player is basically the commander of a battalion. The Soviet Union player moves first, and they move any and all of their units that they wish, and then they can attack. And then the US player moves any and all of their units and makes their attack. And that's a game turn. And as you can see, there's only 4 game turns in the game. Each unit has 4 movement points, so they can move up to 4 spaces. It costs 1 movement point to cross the clear spaces, and to cross the villages, it costs 2 movement points to cross the forests. Players' units can never pass through a hex while it contains a member of the opposing team, nor move off the map. They can, however, move through hexes that have friendly units. However, a unit cannot end its turn on a hex with a friendly unit. Like most games, there's a zone of control, which is the 6 hexes immediately surrounding a unit. And when a unit enters an enemy zone of control, they have to stop. If a player's unit begins their movement in an enemy zone of control, they can leave that zone of control. So, in other words, units are not sticky in this game. Units can leave a zone of control of one enemy unit and move into the zone of control of another enemy unit. Units have to be adjacent to each other to engage in combat. Attacking is voluntary, however, defending from attack is not. So if the enemy player attacks you, you have to defend. More than one unit can attack in a single battle. So in other words, if several units are attacking, you total up their strength and use that to determine your attack. To determine the results of a battle, we simply go to the combat results table. We see how many units are attacking. We roll the 6-sided die, and we look down that column to see what the result is. So, for instance, 2 units are attacking a defender. They roll the die. They get a 4. Then the attacker has to retreat 1 hex. So there's various things that can happen. A defender can retreat 1 hex. An attacker can retreat 1 hex. An attacker can be eliminated, and a defender can be eliminated. If a unit has to retreat, and it ends up having to retreat through an enemy zone of control, that unit is eliminated. At the end of the 4 complete turns, the Soviet player wins if his units physically occupy at least 2 out of the 3 of the town hexes, and the US player wins if he's prevented this. And that's it. This is it. Like I said, this is a very simple game. There's lots of instructions here, but most of them are aimed at a player that's never played a war game before and kind of leads them through. So let's go ahead and play. So this game comes with a front and back cover, a set of basic rules,
a set of advanced rules, basically a turn-by-turn playthrough, a combat results table, and a map. In addition to the map, it comes with, let's see, how many Soviet pieces? Game turn marker, 4 Allied pieces, 6 Soviet pieces, a German reinforcement, and best of all, this little tiny dice here, which I think is amazingly cool. So I really like the dice. So that's what it sets up with. The Soviet Union begins with their turn, so let's go ahead and try to move them forward. They can move 4. Let's go 1, 2, 3. He has to stop. 4. 4. Okay. And then we'll move this southern wing here. Okay, the Soviet Unions have 2 places to attack. They attack on this X here and this Y here. So we look at the number of attacking units is 2, and we roll the dice, and we get a 6. And the 6 says attacker retreats 1 hex. So both these units will have to go back 1 hex. Here we've got a 1-to-1 ratio. I get a 5. Attacker retreats 1 hex. Okay, that lets the Allies move. And I'm going to move here and here. And then we'll move down here and here. So we've got 2 units here attacking 1. We roll a 4. Attacker retreats 1 hex. And here we have to distribute our attacks out. So we could say we instead of getting a 2-to-1 here, we have to do a 1-to-1 and a 1-to-1. So a 6 is an attacker eliminated. So these guys are gone. Okay, hopefully not another 6. Okay, a 1. A defender retreats 1 hex. Okay, there we go. Into game turn 1. Game turn 2. The Soviets will go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And they're going to take advantage of this unit here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So they should have them surrounded. So it's 3 units attacking at X. They get a 4, which is a defender retreats 1 hex. The defender cannot retreat without moving through zone of control, so they're now gone. We have a 3-to-1 down here, and we get a 6. Attacker retreats 1 hex. Okay. We're going to move into place here, and we're going to fall back here. Hopefully we can keep those. I'm going to decide not to attack here. So that is the end of game turn 2. Game turn 3. This guy will move here. This guy will move here. 3, 4. Okay. The Soviets now are attacking with 4 units against Y. And they get a 2, which is a defender eliminated. They're attacking against Z here. They get a 4, which is an attacker retreats 1 hex. Okay. The Allies will stay put. We move to the final game turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. He'll stay here. And they're going to stay put. I'm not going to fight there. We'll say that the Allies don't fight, and so the game ends with a Soviet victory as they control these two towns. And that's all there is to it. Now, this has gotten a reputation for being one of SPI's worst games. It also has a reputation for being one of the worst war games out there, and I don't think that's totally fair. I think there's much, much worse war games. The rules on this game are really clear, and it's really aimed at a novice, neophyte, very new player. I often use it with the kids I work with, and you got to realize these are kids that their idea of a war game is Battleship, and they're at the Chutes and Ladders Candyland levels. So something like this seems pretty complex and pretty interesting. I can usually get about 5 plays out of it with the kid. I'll set it up, and we'll run through the first play to just kind of learn the rules. The second play, they're kind of on their own, but I can tell you I almost always try to let them win. The third play, I show them some tactics and kind of guide them through on some tactical things to do with the game. The fourth game and the fifth game, I kind of let them try to figure out what they're doing. So the fourth game, I kind of let them use the tactics to win the game. And then the fifth game, I'm out for blood, so we'll usually play. By the fifth game, they're getting pretty tired of it, and we're ready to move on to another war game. I'll usually move up a step to Napoleon at Waterloo, SPI's old game, but still I can't say this is a terrible game. Obviously it's not a great game. It's just a real simple beginning type game, but certainly it's not worth the hate that it gets. Anyway, that's all I got this week, but thanks for watching. If you really hate this game, make some comments down below. I'd like to hear them. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.